Welcome, everyone, to AI for UX. This is the space where UX researchers and product leaders stay current with AI innovations for us. I'm John Whalen, the founder of Brilliant Experience, and we're a psychology-driven product innovation firm. So myself, I've struggled to keep up with all the new AI tools for UX research, and I'm guessing I'm not alone, and that's why we started this. And in each segment, we'll be speaking with the founder of one of the latest tools that's AI enhanced and dive deep into the inspiration and how it might benefit you and where it's headed. And just a quick note that these aren't product endorsements. We at Brilliant pay full price for all our technologies, and neither of us are getting paid. This is just for everyone to learn together. So with that, let me go ahead and get started. So today I've got Max. Welcome, Max. Max Hackenschmied is the co-founder of Condens, and it's a tool that makes storing, analyzing, and sharing UX research data easier, faster, and more enjoyable. I think that's a good. I actually love the way you wrote that. It's very matter of fact and clear. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview to talk with us, and we're delighted to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Max, let's dive right into Condens because it's such a powerful product and it's well known in our industry. But from your voice, who do you see as sort of the target audience for Condens, and what do you feel like it addresses the most in terms of pain for all of us?
Yeah, sure. So Condense aims to be like the central part where teams store and analyze their qualitative user research. So I think actually we have three main user groups. The obvious one, that's user researchers and also people who do research. So that might be designers, product marketing managers, product managers, or basically anybody who speaks to customers or users to learn from them. So this is the first user group. The second one would be stakeholders, because at Condens, we also try to make sharing results easier and also more enjoyable and engaging for stakeholders. And quite frankly, the best user research is worth nothing if it doesn't have any impact on people that turn those insights into actions. And the third user group, I would say, is research ops. So these might be like managers, or like bigger companies have research ops managers that really take care that their research practice is running smoothly, that they stay up to standard, consistent, and so on. And Condens be like the central part where researchers analyze, collaborate. That's kind of a natural spot to also make sure that the research practice in the company is up to standard. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. And
in terms of the problems that we solve.
Yeah, please go ahead.
In terms of the problems that we solve, I think what we try is to kind of start with the analysis, make the analysis easier, faster, enjoyable, quite frankly, and go through to sharing research, having impact with it. Then by doing that, creating a repository of existing knowledge, and of course, as I said, keeping consistency across the knowledge to make it usable in the future.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right that so often we can do research, as UX researchers, and if no one in the rest of the product team hears about it or it doesn't make an impact on their decision making, it might as well not exist. So, I think tools like yours are really, really critical. Do you feel you mentioned actually doing sort of analysis of your research and sharing of your research? Is there anything you feel like is it really those two that are the biggest sort of opportunities that your tool provides, or is there one that or something else that you feel is the biggest strength of Condens? I know it's hard to pick, but
yeah. So when we started Condens, actually the analysis part was part we focused on maybe. Also due to the fact that oftentimes repositories that don't have the analysis in there, that's always like an extra effort to put the findings into a repository. And that's one of the reasons that those don't work. also, back when we started Condens, that was 2018, I'd say, there weren't any like specialized tools, or specialized tools were just starting out.
Yeah.
And so it was really a hassle to do the analysis part and to make engaging presentations for the team. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, and our series here is called AI for UX, and so I just wondered, for your clearly there is value, and there might be underlying things that are also sort of machine learning or generative AI, but uh, sort of recently, how has AI been starting to integrate into your tool?
Yeah, actually, AI was part of Condens from the very beginning. So
Mm-hmm.
one core concept that we had, like when analyzing user research, highlighting a tag is like a core concept in Condens, and that was like quite a bit of effort. And I think in the first release already, we had AI-powered tag suggestions that make like the tagging way faster. So it suggests like users highlight a certain phrase, and then it suggests like the three tags that might fit the best there. So AI isn't new for us, but of course, with
Mm-hmm.
the latest developments in generative AI, there are like a lot more possibilities that we had. I think we have to be careful though, because
Mm-hmm.
like many times, like the first idea is to fully automate like, the process or something like that. And I think especially for user research, that actually might be harmful. Um, we try to not automate crucial tasks for sense making away, but we more try to augment user researchers to kind of bring their human quality in to their potential. I mean, there's a lot of things about user research that are so difficult for AI to solve, like the context of the organization of the team, the strategic
Mm-hmm.
positioning of the product or service they
Right.
have. Like all those things are really hard for AI to do, and by automating like crucial steps, I think we're actually harming user researchers, because actually they have to have deep knowledge and deep understanding to be the expert for the rest of their team. And so our approach is really more to kind of automate away like organization stuff and things that maybe
Mm-hmm.
don't add too much value, and then assist the research instead of automating.
Yeah, interesting. And first of all, I'm happy to hear that, and I think that you're right that to a certain extent there can be scale that this can help with, but right, how do you position it with your stakeholders, for example, is certainly not quite sure how my generative AI would know that. So, well, why don't we go ahead? You mentioned how much easier it is to tag and things like that. I think if there's an opportunity for you to show us just what you mean, I think that would be great. So, could we go ahead and just see a little demo of what you mean?
Sure, let's go.
Okay, great. Here I'm sharing your screen now.
Okay, cool. So just as a quick overview, in Condens, you one works in projects. So each like bigger research question might be a project, and the general workflow is always the same. So here we have a project, and it always has like, of course, a project brief with all the goals and everything users need to understand the project later on. And then we have sessions, and sessions is where the raw data gets uploaded. So those might be the interview recordings, those might also be notes from user interviews, like all kinds of qualitative data one might have. And when uploading those, Condens automatically generates a transcript in order to work with that. And for example, one addition that we're pretty proud of, to be honest, is bookmarks. So our AI, it analyzes the text and already kind of understands where key moments might be and where, like, which topic was talked about. So this makes it really easy. For example, like in an interview that's an hour long, that's just a lot of content and a lot of things that might not be that relevant at the moment. But this gives like a nice overview to then jump um, into the raw data. And that's also like an example where we said, okay, we were experimenting a lot with summarization and things like that. But we actually said, okay, summarizing a whole interview that might be harmful because it's actually the job of user research to get the nuance of
Hmm.
interview in the raw data. So what you might do
And
here is, for example, for me, it's now interesting what the favorite destination is. And so you can directly jump in and read what it's about.
Max, can I ask, did you share with the tool what the major categories were, or did it produce those categories on its own?
In terms of those categories, or
Yeah,
what categories
did
are
did
you
it
looking for?
know that their favorite or travel destination, for example? Did you give it that as a topic that it should be looking for, or did it simply figure it out on its own?
It figured it out on its own, but of
Oh,
course,
hmm,
all of those bookmarks are editable
hmm.
by the researchers, and also you can add or remove any of those as you want.
And just
But
for
there's no like
got it. And for clarity,
sorry.
for folks that haven't used Condens, so this is primarily once you can clarify for me, is it once the interview is completed, you can upload it to here, or is it that I can actually do the interviews right from Condens as well?
No, you cannot do the interview right on Condense. So it is true you have to upload it, or for example, bring it in from an integration, Zoom or any other video tool like Google Meets. You can have it directly
Hmm.
loaded in, so you don't have to download it and upload it again.
Got it. Oh, that is really helpful, actually. Um, and yeah, so you mentioned bookmarks, and I sort of paused you there with a question. Are there other things you wanted to show us?
Sure. So let's say a user is now the researcher is interested in the favorite destination. And the next step then would be to actually read through the text or, of course, listen to it and then create highlights. So this might be the interesting part. And by clicking this button, one can then add tags. Tags are kind of the structure that you give to um, to find similarities between the
Mhm.
sessions. And here we already see like the text suggestions, and here actually it worked quite well with the number one suggestion would be favorite place. So you can add this. And then, as you probably know, answers might be also super long. This is not a short answer, but sometimes it's like
Mm,
a lot of sentences. And here's also where we added something from AI that you can summarize the highlight. You can do it yourself, but you
mm,
can also click this button and then it summarizes and put for you and
mm.
the users. So it's then easier to scan. So you don't have to read through all of it.
And Max, now, so you've got me interested clearly. So if I'm handing this to my product owner, for example, and I want to say, here's all the favorite place, mentions, or it's sort of a highlight reel of those things. How do I bring those together?
Mhm. Yeah, that's actually I think one of the one of the things that's really special about Condens is that
Mhm.
you always have your notes, presentations, reports that you're building up on the right side here. So whenever
Oh,
someone finds something interesting, it's super easy to actually just, for example, take this one and drag it over here. Now, this here is something that we call a cluster. And a cluster actually is then a yeah, something like a highlight film. One can also, change how it looks like a media player, and then it plays all those in a row.
hmm.
And this on the right side here then is, for example, a presentation or the report, and that is the thing that most of the time would be shared because here you can also set like the privacy settings, which uh, participant information should be
Mm.
shown. Do we want to anonymize it? And so
Yeah. And Max, just to get a sense, has this been adopted more by I think of the really large, tech companies or international companies or small startups, and just a wide range. Is there a group that has adopted this more than others, or that just kind of what's been the trend for you?
I think we're in the position that we have customers from like in any size, from freelancers,
Yeah,
super small startups to huge enterprises. And for all of those, like the AI things, but also like in general, most of the features are super interesting. So also across industries, we're super lucky that like of course tech is a big part, but it's also like research facilities. I mean also quite frankly, like a lot of companies where I was super surprised that Condens would be useful for them.
cool. Well, let me take a step back, actually, if you don't mind. So, well, ultimately, what inspired you to, go from, maybe you can tell us what you were doing before Condense, and like kind of how did you decide, yes, I want to build this product for this community? I'm just curious to know how it came about.
Yeah. So I think it was two main points in that. Myself, I'm UX research. I'm not a UX researcher. I'm UX designer, or I would say more like a UX person in background. So my first job also was in a fast-growing startup as the first UX designer, and it meant back then was of course I did the whole process from user research to designing, to testing, usability testing, all of those things. So I knew the problem pretty well because back then there weren't any tools that made those things easy. So my
Right.
main tools were,
Hmm.
yeah, Drive,
Yeah.
Excel, and also like specialized video tools to create those highlight reels. So that was the first part. And when my co-founders and I decided we wanted to start something ourselves, we didn't start with the ideas. We knew that we were interested in the product space. And the first thing we did was actually pretty extensive product discovery. So we spoke with over 100 people from the product space. Those were designers, researchers, product managers. And there we discovered that this actually was a pain point. And as you might also think, like having 100 and more interviews and analyzing them, trying to find patterns, that was
Yeah.
also the ultimate
Right.
um, experience that we had. Something like comment is needed.
Huh. Interesting. No, it's really interesting, and yeah, you kind of found your own pain point in some ways. Well, and with Condensed, since that time, are there things that I mean, actually, I thought a lot of the tools you just showed were really interesting, but is there anything that you're particularly proud of, or that sort of milestones that you're really glad you achieved?
Yeah, yet there was like number of like points where like a year before or 2 years before it felt like science fiction. For example, um, when we started, automated transcript was still not really a thing. It was really bad quality. But then also the point where we were able to have those in a good quality and then automatically create snippets out of those. Like for me as a UX designer, then that would really have been the dream. I spent so much time in video
Yeah.
tools, like
Hmm.
painstakingly, like cutting those things myself, bringing them
Yeah.
together. It was like a really cool moment back then. And then, but it just continued now, especially also with the new AI functions, like all of those things. Like 2 years ago, no one would have thought those things are like that good and in such quality. And I think there are a lot of things to come still because like we're just at the beginning of this. So I'm super excited for the future.
Yeah. Well, that leads into a question I had for you actually, which is just, and I mean, the way I worded it was, where do you see your product in the next few years? But I really need to say months, I guess, at this point. Um, but sort of, how do you see your product evolving, and how do you see this whole research and the way you describe it, sort of participatory research, changing over the next while?
Yeah. So actually, the really interesting thing, the exciting thing actually is that I guess no one really knows where AI is heading. We're just at the start of it. And so there's a lot of trying out, a lot of iteration, and a lot of finding good solutions, problems that we have. That's very exciting. So there's a lot of uncertainty about that. At Condens, we're really focused on our user group. So we're committed to serve them best. And I really think that, or our goal is to actually to enhance the experience of the researchers and maybe take away a lot of the things that are not as fun or not as that are just chores, and kind of giving them more time to spend their time with things that are actually really good at, like the whole synthesis, communicating ideas, and find, and also talking to users, of course. So yeah, I think we're gonna head down that road further. And as Condens, we're also super happy with like our market in general. So we don't feel any need to go like super big or broader to serve
Hmm.
everybody. We are super committed to the user research and UX research field.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. And really, I think the last thing I just wanted to ask is if people don't know or haven't tried Condens, is there a way they can get started? And if you want, I can share your screen. Uh, but go ahead.
No, I just head over to Condens.io, the free trial that everyone can start. And also, we have like super good success managers. They're happy to take a demo or that answer any questions. So like the personal touch is super
Mhm.
important for us. But don't shy
Yeah.
away from that.
Great. Well, honestly, this is what I wanted to cover. Max, is there anything I'm missing, or are we good?
No, we're good. Thanks for having me. That
Yeah.
was super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, great. Well, thank you so much, Max. And I really appreciate you sharing Condens with us. So that's all for today. And thank you all for watching and keeping up with the latest AI for UX research. And subscribe if you like this, and let us know what other tools you'd like us to feature next. And we are wishing you all brilliant insights with AI.